Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to the Daily Carnage, a weekly podcast by your favorite marketing newsletter, the Daily Carnage. Every Friday, we're escaping the inbox to bring you trending stories, cool campaigns, and other insights from the marketing and advertising world so that you're always the sharpest marketer in the room. I'm Shannon. I'm a digital marketing strategist at Carney, the dynamic digital agency behind the Daily Carnage, and I have a lot for you today, so let's get right into it. The DMs are a scary place. If you look too hard, you might see something you didn't ask to see, like a message from IKEA. In a new campaign by Rethink for IKEA Canada, night owls who were scrolling Instagram between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. got a cheeky little message from the brand that said, "You up? If you were brave enough to take the bait, you were rewarded with a 15% off discount on mattresses. And if you did some back and forth banter with the brand, you might have even gotten rewarded with a free mattress." And the campaign didn't stop online. Of course, there were billboards with the same cheeky message and a 15% off mattresses discount. This is a brilliant example of meeting customers exactly where they are. In this case, wide awake and scrolling at 3 a.m. I'm not sure that I would have responded, but I certainly would have screenshot it and immediately shared it to my Instagram stories. So I think that's a win. Speaking of our friends in Canada, there are a lot of cool things happening up north this week. In partnership with Publicis Canada, Dairy Queen is transforming massive snow piles all across the country into giant Dairy Queen blizzards. So they're planting 7-foot-tall red DQ spoons along with giant Smarties in these snow piles, which are a very familiar part of the Canadian landscape. You know, if you sell ice cream in a country where it's like winter all of the time, you're gonna have to manufacture some of that desire and need. This does such a great job of starting to build a positive association between two seemingly disparate things, Dairy Queen blizzards and winter, and the result is of course delightful. And to make the campaign even more interactive, each of these blizzard banks came with a QR code that passersby could scan for a chance to win Dairy Queen blizzards for an entire year. And of course, the campaign was being amplified on social, through influencer partnerships, and there were even real-time updates from the Weather Network that would let you know exactly when a blizzard bank was going to appear near you. I'm not gonna lie, if I was on one of my begrudging, angry winter walks and I saw a giant Dairy Queen blizzard, that might be enough to get me through the whole day. I am so ready for spring. We've been covering Duolingo a lot in the newsletter recently, and that is of course because they killed off Duo the Owl, their mascot. R.I.P. Duo, R.I.P. Mr. Peanut, R.I.P. Pop-Tarts. I don't know how I feel about the kill the mascot trend. Even those of us who don't work in social media marketing can recognize that Duo is a cash cow. It's your greatest asset. You're not going to kill him off for long. So we're all just sort of in a holding pattern waiting for the big reveal, but they are having fun with it. Duolingo swapped the app icon to show Duo with X's over his eyes. There was a death announcement. There was even an explicit video of him getting run over by a Cybertruck. Of course, the campaign went viral, even earning some postmortems from CNN and The New Yorker. I was excited this week when I saw that The Drum had interviewed Zaria Parvez, Duolingo's senior global social media manager. Her unhinged approach to TikTok has skyrocketed the brand account from 50,000 followers to 16 million. Unsurprisingly, she shared the keys to success have been listening to community, which they do such a great job of sort of running with things in the comments and turning ideas from the community into content. But also, they don't get caught up waiting on lengthy approval chains. And those of us working behind the scenes in this industry know that's where every good idea goes to die. You know, by the time you've spent all of your energy trying to defend an idea and prove its value through the approval process, usually the viral moment has passed and it would be cringy to post it now, or the idea has just been so watered down by so many hands in the pot that it's no longer going to perform the way you knew that original idea was going to. And this is why we love watching a Duolingo TikTok, because you can imagine that it was on a whiteboard 3 hours ago. And by the time the social media team is asking for forgiveness from the C-suite, it's already got like 1 million likes. But at this point, they probably have a blank check from the C-suite. This week, Instagram dropped a new ad format called testimonials as a part of their partnership ad offerings. So now creators can pin short sponsored comments up to 125 characters at the top of feed posts and reels. And this will be a great way for brands to showcase influencer endorsements front and center. All of the money talk will happen off platform, with brands and creators negotiating payments directly. And then on the other side, creators are going to have full control to track how their endorsements are being used, and they can even pull the plug plug on endorsements that don't seem to vibe. Instagram says this feature will be rolling out to all creators soon. Okay, let's talk about Google's shrinking search market share. Recently, it dipped below 90% for the first time in years. This week, Digiday covered how marketers and advertisers are starting to respond. We're starting to see more focus on diverse channels like TikTok and Amazon, and even emerging search platforms like Perplexity. And this is a pretty big shift. You have SEOs starting to optimize content for AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini. Brands are redistributing their paid search budgets, putting more money into social platforms, retail media networks, even YouTube. Google is of course still dominant, but that might be waning a little bit. So hit us up in the Daily Carnage Facebook group and let us know how you're getting creative, what new channels you may be testing, if you're writing for LLMs. We'd love to hear from you and just learn how folks are responding and adapting to really rapid shifts in our industry. And speaking of rapid shifts in our industry, the cultural chasm between Pepsi and Coke grows wider and deeper by the minute. PepsiCo and Coca-Cola are taking very different approaches to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Pepsi has confirmed it's scaling back its DEI initiatives, removing goals for minority representation. Meanwhile, Coca-Cola is doubling down on its commitment to DEI, emphasizing the importance of inclusivity, setting clear DEI goals for the future, such as achieving 50% women in leadership roles. I knew I was a Coke fan. Watching these two huge competitor brands be so clearly divided over an issue makes me wonder, as companies begin to navigate this cultural shift, whether or not DEI will become a really powerful differentiator on the consumer side. Certainly something to keep an eye on. Okay, is the traditional marketing funnel dead? And if it is, did Gen Z kill it? The Current ran an opinion piece this week charting the rise of omni-channel marketing, otherwise known to ChatGPT as our fast-paced digital landscape. I need that on a t-shirt. And as a result, the old attention, interest, desire, action model maybe no longer captures the full scope of what we're doing here. The customer journey, it now requires constant engagement across a million touch points. And experts argue that the concept of a linear funnel is just outdated. Instead, we're starting to see models like the infinity loop, which maybe more accurately reflects the sort of ongoing cyclical nature of how consumers interact with brands. I do like the idea of a more fluid, organic model myself, but we polled our subscribers, as we do every day, in the Daily Carnage email, and we found that over 75%, the vast majority of our subscribers, really feel that the marketing funnel is still a valuable representative framework for us. Listen, I don't think it's going anywhere. They're not ripping it out of the textbooks. I think it's important to keep in mind, especially in our industry, because we love a framework, that sometimes they just don't represent the work we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis because we are adapting so quickly. And it's important to revisit some of those fundamentals. It's tough because our industry isn't like philosophy or art or physics. We don't have these wise old adages to work from. Even the world that Ogilvy was advertising in doesn't exist anymore. And that can make you feel pretty unmoored, especially as a young person. But it's important to remember that that is the exciting part. You get to develop the language and the frameworks that we use every day because you're the expert on this moment. There's your pep talk for the week. Okay, here's a fun fact. Referred customers are not only worth more than non-referred customers, about 16% more, but they're also more likely to refer other customers. Friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. One of our favorite blogs to share at the Daily Carnage is Science Says. They collate and share a lot of research from around the industry and beyond, kind of covering the psychology behind marketing. This week, they shared new research that shows that customers that were referred are 36% more likely to share the love, over 27% more likely to repeat purchases, and up to 36% more valuable in the long run, which we kind of already knew, right? But it's cool to see the numbers. And referred customers also tend to convert better from free trials. They tend to opt for higher tier pricing plans, and they keep that referral cycle going. Okay, so how can you maximize your referral impact? Well, first you want to start by reminding customers that they were referred in the first place. Make referring an easy, seamless experience with pre-filled messages. Of course, you want to offer incentives in your referral program, and make sure you ask for referrals right after a positive experience. We're all just one big happy family. If by chance you are just streaming the audio of this podcast, I do think it's important to note that my microphone matches my shirt today. Isn't that great? I think I'm going to start a piggy bank where I put a quarter in every time I call X by its old name, Twitter. Ugh, my old friend. Can I just say how sad it was watching the Super Bowl and the Grammys and basically any live television event, SNL 50, without Twitter? There's still no platform that matches the vibes of a 2010s live tweeting session, and I stand by that. Anyway, the new owner of Twitter, you know who I'm talking about, tweeted, posted, said, Twitter added far more features with fewer people. in a post on X on Monday. You know, the takeaway is like, don't feel bad if you still call it Twitter. This guy doesn't even know what it's called. What's in a name? I just want my bird app back. Speaking of things that are gone, but not forgotten, R.I.P. Joanne. I'm not talking about your great aunt. I am, of course, referring to the beloved crafts and fabrics retailer who is closing up shop after 80 years in business. And despite filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection twice in 1 year, Joanne just couldn't withstand inventory issues and sluggish demand. They did have plans to keep their stores open, but recently announced they'd be shutting down 500 stores across the US, and the remaining stores and website will remain open and live, running sales until things wind down. And after an auction, a financial group stepped in to acquire Joanne's assets, marking the end of an era. And let me tell you, nobody's taking this harder than all my friends in the Porch Goose Facebook community. For what it's worth, I don't have a porch goose that I dress up for holidays because I'm in my 30s, but I won't always be, so I'm preparing. Ugh, and the girlies love Joanne's geese. I guess Joanne has the best porch geese, and you gotta go to Joanne's to get all of your fabrics, to sew your little porch goose outfit. Just a little window into a world you may not know about. We're really gonna miss you, Joanne. All right, it's time for an ad from the past. Oh man, today's ad is brought to you by 2 products from Kraft, Velveeta cheese and grape jelly. Our hero text is bite into the taste of natural fruit, bite into jelly grill sandwich. And if you're wondering, what the hell is a jelly grill sandwich? Kraft wants you to slather some margarine on some Wonder Bread, put that down in the pan, and then put some Velveeta cheese on one slice and grape jelly on the other, and make a sandwich. This is a recipe created by marketers for like 3 pregnant women, a 4th grader, and a frat guy named Dave. Listen, we gotta talk about the ethics of advertising. You cannot be out here having people make this in their homes unwittingly. What do you mean? The copy says, welcome to a change from everyday peanut butter and jelly. Nobody asked for that. My favorite part is in the recipe, they specify that you're gonna want the whitest bread that you can find. Don't even think about a whole wheat, a rye, a sourdough. Those all have way too much culture for this trash sandwich. The recipe also mentions that you can eat this raw, or you know, cold, straight to jail. How dare you? It's like named after a Reddit user. Listen, I know some of you are out here eating cheddar cheese with your apple pie. This is not that. This is an abomination. That said, if you like and subscribe and review our show, I will make this in my house and eat this on camera to say thank you. That wraps it up for the Daily Carnage this week. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find all of this week's stories and more tactics, tools, campaigns, games, trivia, and a lot more in our daily marketing newsletter, The Daily Carnage. So don't forget to subscribe. Have a good weekend, Carnies. I'll see you next time.